Hey guys, it's me Dragon. So today's video will do a preparation guide for Yinlin, and I apologize starting from now because probably this editing will be super scuffed because they just announced Yinlin come early 1 week, so I'm literally off guard with this, so I have to rush everything here. So I very apologize with all the editing that's not really great. But yeah, enough in that. So as usual, preparation guide usually I will cover about the material itself, what the kit looks like. Just in a very basic, simple one, not of course like until expert. That will be probably for the post-release. And then after that, the builds, the team comps, and yeah, everything pretty much related to Yinlin. So let's get started. So let's start first with the material for Yinlin. So this is already all the accumulation of Yinlin material until level 90 and max skill. And this is always thanks to Devil Takoyaki from providing this one. And yeah, for the material, you already know, right? Killing the boss, the abomination. You already know if you clear the Act 5, fighting Dreamless also for the weekly boss. And for the plans, if you're really lazy to gather, as always I already mentioned the tips before, you can actually buy in the pharmacy every week, so you can just go there and buy that. And let's start with the talents or the kit itself. And of course, firstly start with basic attack. Basically all Yinlin basic attack, there's no special gimmick. But of course in here, if you want to see, I have the showcase in here from beta, you can take a look. And for the resonance skill in here, Yinlin have two sequence of resonance skill, meaning that after you tap one skill, you can tap another skill. So it's kind of like chain combo from the skill itself, similar like Calcharo, if you know what I mean. But Calcharo is 3 times, right? But instead Yinlin only twice. So let's start first. When you tap the first skill itself, or E when I play on PC of course, the Yinlin puppet itself will attack the enemy. So if you pay attention, the enemy right now have some of like red mark in here. I'm not really sure the finalized mark symbol what they will make, but as a BT2 it has kind of the red mark in here. So this mark called Sinner's Mark. So basically if you just do any attack from the basic attack itself, there's like kind of follow-up lightning chain damage like that. You see the additional damage. Yeah, that's what's called the Sinner's Mark effect itself. It calls the electromagnetic blast. So each time you attack, they will have this follow-up electro chain. And then for the second sequence of the resonance skill itself, it's basically called lightning execution. There's nothing special in here. It's just like follow-up damage. Yinlin just use the leg and have the blade, kind of quite sick animation. So this is mostly the second skill is just used to increase the forest circuit gauge itself, which is still important. So from here, the skill, you can just make any different type of combo. You just want to type like EE or skill right away, or you just want to skill, do a couple of combo of basic attack, and then you follow up by skill. So you can also do that. It just depend on your creativity. And for Yinlin for the circuit, if you already make the gauge of for the circuit already full, you just simply holding the basic attack, then yeah, you will trigger for the circuit of Yinlin itself. So you will do the sitting down pose, and then you will have the electro things, and yeah, you already successful trigger the forest circuit. And after that, you will have the effect where it will transform your Sinner's Mark. Remember the red marks that you get from the skill itself, it will transform to become Punishment Mark. Punishment Mark is basically still same. It will have the follow-up attack of the electro chain damage, but instead of 1, it's become 2 right away. So it gives you more damage. And the good part about this, it's even work out like outfield. So that means if you change your other character, it will still also apply this electro follow-up attack, which is actually good though to give you extra damage. So this one can be triggered once every second if you do any attack. And lastly, her resonance liberation is just pretty much a nuke damage in here. It's quite decent amount of damage, so make sure to use that. As for the intro skill of Yinlin just pretty much attack to the enemy, nothing really special. For her outro skill itself, she has 2 different effects. That's why I make her as a limited character. So the effect is that the next character that you switch, the character will gain 20% of electro damage and also 25% of resonance liberation or ultimate damage increase. So yeah, that's actually pretty good, and it lasts for 14 seconds. So reminder in here is that this buff can only work to the next character that you switch. Meaning like, let's say you want to give this buff to Calcharo, then your Calcharo have to stay on field. You cannot change back, let's say, to Yinlin or change to Farina. If you change, the buff is gone. So make sure don't change while this outro skill is still active. And let's move into passive skill. The first passive skill is that Whenever Yinlin do the resonance skill or the skill itself, Yinlin crits will increase by 15% for 5 seconds, which is pretty good. And her second passive skill basically means like if you do the second sequence of her resonance skill itself, it will increase if you already have the Sinner's Mark. And also Yinlin attack will increase by 10% for 4 seconds. This is pretty good. And that's everything about Yinlin Kit itself. Overall, it's pretty much quite simple, and I will want to give a little bit tips about Yinlin. This is just mostly a simple tips that will work for mostly even for casual, which is Yinlin, if you just pay attention, her animation mostly quite long, especially if you trigger the border circuit, it will quite long animation. So because of that, I really recommend if you can just like swap cancel. It's not just because to maximize the DPS, but because also for survivability, she can literally receive damage if she do the animation and enemy attack you, so that's also for the sake of survivability. And let's move to the build for Yinlin. Let's start first with the build in general that you need to use for Yinlin. There's two different ways that you can go. If you want to just use in general, then of course the 5 piece of this thunder is actually the best one because the effect is just like buffing electro damage, and of course the 5 piece is also will buff the heavy and resonance skill, which is still pretty much good for Yinlin. However, if you feel like you doesn't really want to utilize this one and you want to make your Yinlin more as a support itself, then you can use of course the energy, 5 piece of energy, because give you energy regen, so you can make the ult even like easier. And also the effect also good. If you do outro skill, the next resonator will get buffed 22.5% of attack, which is good. Let's say you want to make like Calcharo hyper carry, something like that, it can work. So yeah, those two options is basically that you can go. It's very depends on what is your purpose. If you just want like general stuff, then 5 piece of this. If you want more like support, then go with this energy. However, if you feel that you still have hard time to get 5 piece, which is I understand, I also still have hard time to get 5 piece, then you can just go with 2 piece. 2 piece, it's more flexible and easier for you to make it. And not all of us even like end game, still pretty much, maybe some of us even early, even middle game, something like that. So 2 piece still pretty much good. Just choose any 2 combination from these 3, which is Void Thunder with the combination of the Moonlit Clouds, that's still pretty much good. Or with the another one is Lingering Tunes, also give you attack, still pretty much good. Just choose any of 2 from these 3. For the active echo skill that you need to put, there's a couple of choices that you can go. It's either first, the best one is just very depends on your preference. You want to go with Tempest Mepis or Thundering Mepis. It just depends which one that you want to focus. If you want to focus more Resonant Liberation, of course Thundering Mepis. But if you want to focus more on Yinlin heavy attack, then you can go with this Tempest Mepis. But I will want to give you reminders that this Thundering Mepis animation is very long, so it's quite hard in difficulty content. So yeah, because of that, just give you a reminder. But I heard there's a bug, if you equip with the skin, you can only hit 1 hit and then it's already get buffed, so you can try that. That actually still pretty much good. But other than that, in general, if you just want confidence, this is still easier for you to trigger the effect. But other than that too, if you want to use Flautist, this is also still pretty good echo skill that you can use, because not just dealing damage but give you a concerto energy, so it's easier for you to trigger outro skill. So quite good for Yinlin itself to, you know, to become more as a buffer. So if you want like getting concerto energy easier, then you can consider this. Then other than that, if you use the energy set, then you can consider this tortoise, because it will buff your entire team, also gives you 10% of damage boost, and also damage reduction, still nice too for you to use. And lastly, the one that you can consider too, if you use this Lingering Tunes echo sets, then you can use this Mech Abomination, because the effect's still good. It will increase your current character attack, so make it more your Yinlin hit harder, especially on field. However, take notes, I don't know, I heard this Mech Abomination still have bugs, so yeah, pay attention with the news. Is it still buggy or not though? If it's still buggy, then I don't really recommend for you to use. As for the Echo Mensab itself, it actually very depends which format that you want to go. If you go with the best one in general, which is 4-3-3-1-1-1, then for the boss echo, you put critical damage or either critical rate. It's very depend which one that you need. In general, if you already go above 50% of critical rate, then that pretty much you can go for crit damage. Otherwise, just go for crit rate. As for the 3 cost itself, it also depends what in your purpose. But in general, the best one is just double electro damage bonus. So both of 3 cost is the electro damage bonus. However, if you cannot get that, then just go with electro damage bonus with attack, or even like attack still pretty much fine. If you ask me, is the energy regen is necessary for Yinlin? It also depends. If you won't focus on ult, then you can go with energy regen, or let's say your subset really sucks, doesn't have really energy regen, then just go with energy regen, just one piece. And if you ask me how much energy regen that you need for Yinlin, it's actually very depends on how also fast you do your rotation. In general, when I do a testing, usually it's around 130% to 150, literally very depends on which team also that you play, so it's around like that. As for the one cost itself, just go with attack and attack. If you go with the format 4-4-1-1-1, then basically just focus on double crit. So in here it depends if you need more crit damage, and go for crit damage, and in here probably you just want the crit rate, so both of them you just put, or even if you're very desperate, then you can just go with attack, that also can. For the one cost, still the same, all of them is attack. As for substat for the Echo itself, just go with the very typical DPS style, which is, and for the Echo subset, it's just very classic for DPS style, which is the main priority is crit rate or crit damage, and following that is energy regen, because Yinlin still need energy, and afterward is attack. So those 4 stat is the main priority: crit rate, crit damage, attack, and energy regen. Following after that, it's either crit resonance skill damage bonus, or resonance liberations, or even heavy attack. It's still pretty much okay. And let's move to the weapon section, and of course let's start with the 5-star. The best one, of course, her signature, the String Master, gives you a high of attack base, crit rate, that's also pretty good. Everything gives you resonance attribute, increase resonance skill, increase attack. It's just so good for her, of course, that's the best one. However, if you have also from the standard Cosmic Ripple, it's still good because gives you a high attack base and also another bonus substat as a attack percentage itself, and that's also good. Give you energy regen for your Yinlin, which is good. Other than that, if you buy the battle pass weapon, then it's still pretty much good. The upband gives you attack and also crit rate. This is mostly important because the crit rate is very rare in this game, and the effect still pretty much good, increase attack after you cast Resonance Liberation. However, if you're really free to play, then you can just use the Rectifier 25, still pretty good, gives you energy regen for you, so you don't really have to care in your Echo stats to put like energy regen, and also the effect still pretty much good. Other than that, you can, if you want to focus as a just in the ultimate and outer skill, literally most as a support, then you can just use same like Farina, which is variation, give you energy regen, good to trigger ult faster, and also give you concerto energy, so you can trigger your outro faster. So that's pretty much good, right? If you want to make your, let's say, Calcharo as a hyper carry, and this is pretty much good. This is mostly as a support. And other than that, of course, if you have Jinchou Keeper, still pretty much okay. So let's start with the team comp. Take notes, not all the team comp is meta or super strong. Some of them just work just because Yinlin is quite flexible. So the best one, of course, in general is Yinlin in Electro team. So of course, right now the best Electro character for the DPS right now only Calcharo. So you only have no choice because that's also the most accessible. So Calcharo, just pretend Tauchi is Yinlin, okay? Yinlin and Farina. So in here, Yinlin main job is just to work as a sub DPS, where you can trigger this heavy attack from the forest circuit, and also Resonance Liberation, and of course the outer damage bonus to give buff to the Calcharo itself, where give electro damage and also the Resonance Liberation. For the rotation work, it's just pretty much quite similar like jiyan with Mortifi with Farina, where we always start with Farina, get the outer skill, move to Mortifi, get the outer skill, and just move lastly to Calcharo, and Calcharo do the ultimate, and you just execute until the end and just keep repeat something like that. Other than that, if you don't want to use Calcharo, of course you have option to use Yuanwu, but I don't have Yuanwu unlocked yet, but yeah, you can. Then maybe if you have Yuanwu S6, then pretty much you can choose that. However, other than that, if you don't want to play in the Electro team, there's a couple team that's still pretty much good. This is one of my favorite too, which is Yinlin with Havoc Rover, or even Spectral Rover is still pretty much good. In here, it's not mostly because they synergize 100%, but this is how just convenient and flexible they are in the team. Because Yinlin mostly also buffing Resonance Liberation, and both Spectral Rover, especially Havoc Rover, the Resonance Liberation is huge. So Yinlin buff from Resonance Liberation is quite huge also if you can trigger outer skill and give to the Rover itself. So that's why it's still pretty much his team will work. And the best part, this team is very flexible because you don't really need to worry like to wait, like let's say like Farina, move also after that move to Yinlin, after you move to Calcharo, and you have to Calcharo all the way. but in here is not really, because basically in here you just can keep swapping unless you already trigger the outer skill for resonance celebration. That's the only way you want to stay on field, do the resonance celebration. After that, you already pretty much free too. Other than that, you can utilize quite similar, which is utilize the resonance celebration, which is give to any character that have quite strong resonance celebration, which is in here the one that I can think is Chirsha or Sanhua. Sanhua also can work, so you can use that. Maybe your main Sanhua or Chirsha carry, hyper carry you really like, then yeah, you can put that. And after that, Yinlin and Farina or any sustain actually, but I always prefer Farina because just how flexible she is to give buff to the others. So of course the last choice you can always choose, like let's say like maybe Baiji still pretty much okay, I forgot to mention, so yeah. And lastly, if you want to make your Yinlin as a main DPS, then it still pretty much can work, which is Yinlin, Farina or any sustain. And the last one, if you have Jinsin, that's actually the best one, just because in here if you go to Farina and you go from Jinsin, and Jinsin outro is just to buff resonance liberation, so when you move to Yinlin, her resonance liberation will getting buffed. Also, her outro buff from Yinlin can buff resonance liberation from the Genshin itself, so it kinda quite good for like AoE content mode like tower adversity. And the next part, if you ask me, should you go for signature weapon or should you go for the resonance change or the sequence itself, then for me in general, just go for the signature weapon, just because the stat is just so good, the effect is just so good. And why also I prefer more to the weapon, because the S1 is not bad. It will increase your resonance skill damage, both of them, by 70%, which is huge, but it's only for resonance skill. While you get a weapon, it gives you quality of life and overall damage increase in general, which is already, I say it's more flexible. And S2 is actually pretty good. As I say, it's quality of life. It gives you more recovery of your judgment point, which is quite easy for you to trigger Forte Circuit faster, and also restore resonance energy, so ultimate also faster, pretty much quite good in quality of life. However, I don't think it's super big deal, especially already have a good also like energy regen. This has even become less significant. So because of that, I feel like in general weapon signature is still pretty much the preference for me. Other than that, if you ask me what is the best stopping point if you want to go for her resonance chain, starting from S3, whatever that you want to stop, it's already good. And the last thing that I want to add is still people ask me, is it Yinlin with Calcharo still good? Because you heard like, let's say Calcharo get nerfed, blah blah blah, and not really great, blah blah blah. So is it still good with Yinlin? And I can say again, yes, it's still pretty much good. The reason is that you have no other choice. Even like Calcharo is bad, what else you want to use? You want to use Yuanwu S0, it's not really great. If you make it S6, then probably still pretty much okay. And I can even say right now, Calcharo is more accessible just because we give a selector. So because of that, you have no choice. Then Yinlin and Calcharo is still pretty much a good pair, because Yinlin without Electro Tip, her kit will not utilize 100% because one of her buff is buffing electro damage, and Calcharo is the only way and most accessible that you can choose. So no matter how bad you can say about Calcharo, you have no choice. But there's a little bit good news for Calcharo. If maybe some of you feels like Calcharo gameplay is not feel so great, it's hard to use, something like that. Currently, they have this kinda like photo cancel. So basically in here you can make when you are in the ultimate, you can make the death messengers faster to charge. So basically in here you can just keep pressing the photo and spam the basic attack. So in my keyboard, of course, the attack, like spamming the same time like that, and it can charge faster. Calcharo damage just increased quite significant, just because right now you can just animation cancel, because when he in the resonance liberation, he moves so much, very easy to getting interrupted, and quite long to charge up. With this one, is just significantly faster. So this is a little bit good news for you that you can use. I don't know they will fix or not, but so far right now this is at least a good news which make Calcharo. So yeah, that's everything that I think I already covered about Yinlin. I hope this is helpful. I don't know if there's something that I missed because I literally rushed this video. So yeah, I appreciate if you like this video. Feel free to hit the button and like, and I will see you next time. And have a good luck in your Yinlin pool. Bye bye.